Welcome to Bad Gear, the show about the world's most hated audio tools. In spite of all the technical advancements in the field of electronic rhythm generating devices, the ideal of a drum machine still sounds like a friendly alien sea mammal, a cyborg ogre with ADHD, a very groovy typewriter, or a session drummer from Scottsville, Kentucky. Today we are going to talk about the Yamaha RY30, and it is, together with a Korg S3, one of the 1991 machines that tried to liberate humanity from the yoke of these 80s cliches by implementing innovative features, top-notch sample banks, and a user interface worthy of a 90s text-based adventure game. Let's say it didn't go so well. At the first glance, the Yamaha RY30 is ticking all the Sinclair Spectrum boxes: robust plastic enclosure, smooth and wrist-friendly rubber pads, and, well, a display. The undisputed star of the show is the mod wheel, which can be routed to a selection of essential sound shaping parameters. It works great for live playing and modulating patterns in record mode. But I didn't find a way to use it for spontaneous tweaks during normal playback. Like most drum machines from that era, the RY30 is basically a rompler. Hair metal ready 80s kits, a few techno staples, plenty of Latin percussion, drum sound fragments, special FX, and basic waveforms. The samples don't exactly sound fresh by today's standards, but the drum machine is all about mangling them and putting them in context. Kits consist of 8 voices based on 2 samples each. These elements can be panned and pitched independently. There are dedicated decay parameters and very digital sounding resonant low-pass, high-pass filters with envelopes. The per voice pitch envelope comes in handy, and there are numerous pro features like pitch, filter and envelope modulation via velocity, choke groups, and versatile routing options for the hell yeah individual outputs. Operating all this drum machine goodness is not always convenient, but I was able to establish a productive workflow after around 2 hours of goofing around with the instrument. You can record drum patterns with a maximum length of 4 bars using real-time step mode, and there are specialized modes for parameter recording and editing note timing. Nice. Back in the day, people actually had to get paid work done on drum machines, so the RY30 comes with a full-fledged song mode and many editing and organizing features. Swing is hidden in one of the not-so-sensual menus, by the way. Speaking of not-so-sensual stuff, the internal memory fills up fast, especially when using parameter recording, but the extensive MIDI implementation includes sysx dumps for backups. Reminiscent of Roland's then state-of-the-art R8, Yamaha included a macro functionality, which lets you bypass some of the tedious menu diving. Polyphony is restricted to 15 voices, but feels like more. Internal sample rate surpasses most of its competitors at 48 kHz, but the sequencer resolution of 96 ppqn is a bit measly. Given the synth-like features of the machine, the chromatic pitch bank is a nice touch. Yamaha released a bunch of signature ROM cards for the RY30, and the unit is compatible with TGSY wave cards. I stumbled upon this drum machine in the studio of my dear friend Matthias Jakisic. Thanks for yet another jam from his collection. It doesn't come as a surprise that used prices for the instrument have risen significantly. The Yamaha RY30 is one of the top-of-the-line drum machines from the last pre-DAW generation. Do the sound-shaping possibilities outweigh the antiquated user interface? You have already heard the RY in today's intro tune. Probably not the worst version to date, but certainly not the best. Let's give it the standard bad gear drum machine treatment in the first jam. Now that's surprisingly funky. The snare is crisp and I like the pitch artifacts. Unfortunately, the RY30 was not designed for live jams, so you will have to make use of the individual outputs for on-the-fly mutes and solos. Time to push the FX pedals game a little further. Limiting fits the sounds nicely, but the individual outputs tend to be a bit noisy, especially when used with high gain FX. Although the synth features are limited, the RY is capable of producing interesting tones. I wanna know if it can provide all the sounds for this top shelf cheese and other evening nibbles cluttered minimal funk boss music. It is fascinating that in a highly innovative field like electronic music production, many artists still rely on sounds from the early 80s, and the RY30 was among the first instruments to tackle that topic. While the samples didn't age so well, the sophisticated engine allows for drum sounds that can slap as hard as the Roland classics. So if you are looking for a more modern sounding yet vintage alternative, the RY is certainly worth a shot. At the same time, the drum machine was designed for studio work. The UI can be off-putting and you will need additional gear for live jamming. Over the course of the 90s, Yamaha churned out numerous digital technologies that still hold up today. The creamy VA engine of the AN1X, the live performance features of the RM1X and the drum engine of the RY30, just to name a few. I would say another Yamaha groove machine is long overdue. Just put all that old stuff in a new and shiny box. Thanks for watching and see you next time! Hey guys, I hope you enjoyed the episode. Feel free to like, subscribe, become a patron and leave a comment what other kind of gear you would like to see and hear on the show. Thanks to all my patrons for supporting the channel and welcome to the monthly Vocoder Shoutouts. Tier 4. It's been 168 days since we had a real Vocoder on the show, so I went down to the bad gear catacombs where I met this little goth kid.
Hashtag hardware only, the MIDI maniac, Sepp and the Sun.
Polaroids of the pyramids. Chris Sablinski.
Not as bad as I remembered. I'd like to welcome Underperformer to Tier 6 with a quasi-MIDI Sirius. Again, thank you so much for supporting the channel. See you next month.